And so the basics of gun safety are never touch the trigger
Well,
unless you're going to shoot. Can you go
so
through all those?
I don't like the basic rules because I think those limit you, right? They limit you to a gun range, right? The majority of the time. I like to think of it like in a different way. So I think of it like I want to know the condition of this thing all the time, right? So know the condition of your weapon. The second one is to keep my finger off and away from the trigger until I decide to take shots or shoot. The third one is to point it in the safest possible direction at all times. So, like, since I lifted it from the couch, I lifted it over and this way because this was a safe direction, and I could point it in that direction, even though we can see that it's clearly unloaded. And I deem that the safest possible direction I could point it in, other than down or maybe just to that end over there in the room. And knowing that, right, and looking at it that way, safest possible direction also means like if bad man wants to do bad things and he makes me present my firearm, he has become my safest possible direction in that environment, right? In that situation, he's now the safest possible direction at that time. So that's how I look at that. And then lastly is knowing the angle that I'm going to engage targets at. If I know the angle that I need to shoot at or the angle that I need to change my angle to get better shots, then I could avoid objects that are in front of me and in between me and the target, or objects that are behind my target that I don't want to hurt or destroy. So when I look at it in that context with those rules versus the NRA safety rules or something like that, I have more context that I can look at it and also see it in various locations, right? Different environments versus being stuck in one environment, which is where the NRA looks at it is just at a gun range. Mm-hmm. That's where those rules were invented for you to be at a gun range, not to be living outside of a gun range, which 99.9% of us don't live on a gun range.
Yeah.
And there's probably 0.1% of dudes that are out there that I live here, but there are.
Well, your friend Frank Proctor, he has a gun range on
in his backyard,
property, right? Yeah.
right?
That's
right out his
great.
backyard. It's pretty awesome. But that comes with consequences also, right? He shoots so much that you may have to take care of lead levels and stuff like that. So you have to watch out for those things when you're in our position, I guess you could say. So going to the website, if you're looking for a class or want to go to a class or take a class, you can just scroll down on the homepage and you can see all the classes that I have going on in 2022, 2023 so far. It's a living document, so it just continues to like grow, or when a class passes, I delete it off of there. But let's say you wanted to go to any of these, like let's say Weaponized Geometry and Vero Beach, you'd click it and it would take you right to the Weaponized Geometry page, and you would just have to select which date, depending on which dates were available. And if it's lighter gray color, that means it's out of stock, so you wouldn't be able to do it because these classes sell out pretty quick. But you can be notified if a slot opens up and somebody canceled on me. And as long as there's enough time to fill the spot, you would get notified and you can pay for your spot in the class. But every class is like this, where you can click right onto it from the schedule and it'll take you right to all the available classes and dates and locations. And they're all over the US. And if you see one that you want to do and it's not anywhere near you and you have the ability to host or have the facility to host, that's where you would go to that hosting tab again and go through that process of hosting. It's actually very easy. I'm not very high maintenance when it comes to things. I rather get more people to come learn than make it so complicated that people can't learn, right? They're not going to be willing to go through the hoops to get me there to actually go through the process of learning.
So private individuals, law enforcement, I know sometimes you train some military units as well.
Yep.
So anybody that wants to host a class or to have John teach your unit, the guys you work with in law enforcement, or just your friends or family, this is the process. I highly recommend it.
Super simple.